How's it going? Welcome back to DylanPickups.com's Dylan Talks Tone. And today we're going to talk about something pretty interesting. Comes up fairly often, and that is matched components in your guitar. So if you have, let's say, 500K pots in your guitar, and we want to know how important it is to match them close to each other, you know, like if you have two of them, make sure that they're exactly the same value. Because there are companies that charge extra for a matched set, and they say, well, these are made in the United States and they are a matched set. So first of all, the main brands of pots that are used, they're considered high quality, CTS and Borns, neither of them make pots in the United States. So that is number one. CTS, for instance, is made in Taiwan. So, you know, you just never, I'm not going to say you're never going to, but with those two main brands that are quality pots, they are very good. They're not made in the United States. Okay. So just remember that. So despite what assumptions are made about where those things are made, no matter where you buy them, they're not made in the United States. What some companies do is they will charge extra for pots that they have basically gotten a box and picked out these pots, tested them all within a certain tolerance. The going rate, I guess, is about 8% tolerance between pots. So, and then they charge extra for these, saying that you're going to get better tone out of your guitar because the pots are matched. Okay? So, how important is that? Well, when you have to match something, that really only matters when you are trying to do the same thing twice. What do I mean by that? Well, if you have a single volume, single tone guitar, both of those pots are doing different things, okay? So if you have a 500K pot and a 500K pot, and this one reads 500K and this one reads 510K, which is, you know, not that big a deal, it doesn't matter because they're doing two different tasks, okay? So you have one that's handling the tone and the capacitor over here, and you have the one that's handling the volume over here. Now, if you have a Les Paul style circuit where you have two volumes and two tones, then maybe you could make an argument that that the two tones should match and the two volumes should match, so that when you turn the volumes up and down or the tones up and down, they move at the same rate. So the volume being all the way down is obviously a short, so that's 0. So if we have a 500K pot up here, the argument could be made that if it was only 480, that the volume taper would be different, okay? And then you would hear the difference between those two. The thing is that in order for that you really to be able to hear a difference, then there's more than one variable that has to be the same. One of them is the volume of the thing that you're turning up and down has to be the same. Okay, so if you have a Les Paul with two humbuckers in it, and one humbucker is 7.6K in the neck, and the other one is 8.2K in the bridge, and you have varied the height of those to match everything, then a 10% variance in your pot, I mean, it's negligible that you're going to ever be able to hear that. And the other thing people will say was, well, it's going to cut the frequency response because, like I said, if you go and watch what pots to select for your guitar, 500K versus 250K, you can click right here. I'll put a button right here in the YouTube video. You can click there and you can go watch that video and understand why you would pick which pot and how it affects the frequency response. You could say, well, if this pot is 510K and this pot is 500K, then the frequency response could be different to the pickup. The thing is that if you have a 7.6K pickup and an 8.2K pickup, the frequency response of those pickups is going to be different anyway. Okay, so 10% difference on a pot versus 8 or 5 that you pay extra for, man, that's a tough one to pay the extra money for. It really is. So here's the thing that you can do yourself, okay? You can go and buy, and let's just throw these on the table here. You can buy 4 pots, 500K pots, and you can say, I'm gonna build my, and actually these are short shafts, so, and you can buy 4 of them, and you can say, I'm gonna build my Les Paul circuit. And instead of spending a bunch of money for pots that have been quote unquote toleranced, just buy 4 pots, okay? And basically measure all of them, okay? And incidentally, I actually took a pile of pots just randomly out of my stock, and I measured them. And I don't buy them, I buy them in bulk for what we do here. And they were all within 5%. Except for one. One was 8%. So why are you spending extra money for a pot that is 8% anyway? Okay, good question. Second of all, if the difference between the pots only matters between things that do exactly the same thing, 2 tone pots and 2 volume pots, then do this. Measure all 4 of your pots, and let's say this one is 500K, and this one is 500K, and this one is 515K, and this one is 517K. Well, then take these 2 pots and use them for the same thing, and take these 2 pots and use them for the same thing. So use the 2 close ones together that are kind of off one way, and use those for volumes. And use the other 2 that are close together off the other way, and use those for tones. So at least you'll be close matched for the 2 things that have to do the same thing, okay? So that they are actually matched for their task, if that makes sense. Now, the thing that really is gonna matter is the capacitor. Because if we even just take the volume pots out of the equation and just talk about our tone pots for a minute, no matter what the tolerance between these pots is, it is not going to matter if you use a cheap capacitor, because not all capacitors are created the same. And people will say, well, they all kind of sound the same to me, and it's kind of snake oil to get one special capacitor over the other. Now that may be true to your ears, and I'm not going to argue that point. That is obviously a subjective thing. However, what is not subjective is the tolerance of the capacitor, okay? And we also have a video on our YouTube channel in our quick tips section that talks about how to read a capacitor. And the main number we're going to focus on here is the tolerance number. Now the tolerance number for capacitors goes, it starts at A or B, and it goes up in the alphabet. Now, J or below in the alphabet is 5% or lower. If you go to K or higher, it's 10%. Now, if you have a 0.015 cap and you change it by 10%, or if you have a 0.047 cap and you change it by 10%, and you put 2 different capacitors of 2 different values that are more than 10% difference in your Les Paul, you might hear that. I mean, that's a big deal. That's actually a bigger deal than changing the volume, than having exactly matched volume pots or exactly matched tone pots. So, the 2 takeaways from this video, what I would tell you is, instead of wasting money on something that might not make a whole lot of difference, just buy pots, match them within your guitar. So take the 2 closest ones here, the 2 closest ones here, and make this one volumes, make this one tones, and then make sure that your tone pots match, or tone caps match. This is Dylan with Dylan Pickups. Please check us out on Facebook, on YouTube at Dylan Pickups, and all the other places where you can find us. My name is Dylan McCurchie, and I hope you have a great day.